Today I'm going to evaluate the atomic bomb lesson plan. The first question asked, did the lesson plan contain a writing component? Yes, this one had a writing prompt where they wanted the students to answer the question, in what ways are we still living the legacy of the creation of the atomic bomb? This question would force the students to think like a historian and a scientist because they would have to think back in history and think about what was going on during the creation of the atomic bomb and how it affected them then. And same with the scientists, in what ways was science affected with this creation? And then they would have to compare that to nowadays. The second question said, does the lesson plan require students to interact at some point as an intellectual community? This is also a yes, because not only do the students have to do a classroom debate where they have to choose a side, was the use of an atomic bomb inevitable? Um, then they have to choose the side and they have to debate it with fellow classmates. Also, before the lesson plan even gets started, they have to become familiar with the vocabulary, and then they have to discuss the vocabulary in an intellectual conference with peers. So by using the vocabulary words, they do share their knowledge using the language of the discipline. The next question said, does the lesson plan include a project-based activity? Are they doing the work that a real scientist or historian would do in the real world? I think the answer to this question doesn't it's not exactly a project based activity because I'm not really seeing a project that they do. But this lesson plan does require them to act like a historian because on steps 3 and steps 4 of the lesson plan, they have to read articles from that time and they have to analyze them, and historians do that. So even though it's not a project that they create, they are having to think like a historian because they are evaluating um, articles from that time period. Also, I think that the classroom debate would fall under the project based because scientists debate their theories all of the time. So, debating definitely would fall under a project in a way that they act like a scientist. So, the last question said the does the lesson plan require the student to think like a scientist or think like a historian? I think this lesson plan definitely requires the students to think like scientists and historians because, like I've already mentioned earlier, it requires them to analyze articles from that time period just like historians do. They have to take what they learn and apply it to this day and age just like historians. And also like scientists do the same things. um when the writing prompt asked, in what ways are we still living with the legacy of the creation of the atomic bomb, this is asking the students to put on their scientist hat, see and evaluate our times and compare them with what they happened before. um, it does require students to learn a specific set of behaviors dedicated to the discipline because, again, um, they have scientists have to have a hypothesis and then they have to do the experiment and then they have to evaluate whether or not their hypothesis is true. So, just like this lesson plan, they have to evaluate things and then they are forced to answer a question. Was the use of the atomic bomb inevitable? They have to evaluate all of these things, all of the by things, I mean the articles, and they have to write about it. So scientists definitely have to write up their theories in words and have people, and then they have to debate them, and that is what this lesson plan is asking. And as for historian, it also requires the students to use their behaviors because they take um, um, things from different time periods and they evaluate them, and that's exactly what this lesson plan does. I think that the atomic bomb lesson plan um is well rounded, and by doing this lesson plan I think that it would definitely help the students become more aware of the real life jobs of a scientist or historian. All right, thank you so much and you have a good afternoon.